credit to Ken Holland. Didn't he say it takes 10 years? Put Ken Holland on the poll. 10 years. It's been 10 years since the playoffs. Yeah. What else?
This is why I always say, let it play out.
Oh, come on. This guy.
I mean, is there a better example
than this? Scott Harris calculated the Tigers were not a playoff team in this offseason, and every move he's made since has been done to prove he was right. This run was done in spite of Scott Harris. He gets no credit and should probably be fired for malfeasance on the ticket text. Okay, nobody's firing Scott Harris.
No.
Not even me.
Not even you, who's asking to take back one of the strikes within the next 6 days.
I do think that text, though, is largely correct that this was not the plan. Scott didn't plan for the playoffs. He made moves that were not about making the playoffs this season. This was done in spite of the decisions that he made. But they didn't block any of the bats.
Yeah.
And now the bats are, I wouldn't say ultra productive. They're very opportunistic.
Okay, how about this point? Scott Harris sets the roster. Javy Baez was on the roster for the most part of this season. And when Javy disappeared, this team went on a run. So what if Scott didn't have Javy Baez on the roster for most of the season? Is that a fair critique?
No.
No?
They had to.
Who had to what?
Jim, you're buying out a guy for $98 million before the season?
If I'm worth,
that's unreasonable in sports.
Yeah.
That's just, you're being unreasonable. Nobody's going to do that. Nobody's ever done that in the history of sports. I think that I do not think he should be on this team next year. You're at the halfway point of the contract. You've given him every chance you can, and I do just think it makes no sense for him to be here. I'll say this about Javy being gone. Nobody in that clubhouse or the manager is going to throw him under the bus, okay?
No, of course.
his presence, okay? They started getting hot in, the 10th or so of August?
Yes.
Then they went to the Little League Classic, and they had that big win, and they have said that this was somewhat of a turning point for us.
Yep.
And then they let Javy play in Chicago. Respect, Right after that, he's gone. Seems a little fishy to me. And it seems a little coincidental.
Yeah.
Trey Sweeney's better.
Oh, yeah.
We never thought that he would. He was a throw-in in this trade.
It's why I did say the thing you can give Harris credit for, eye for talent. Sweeney was not a throw-in in that deal, as he was discussed at the time. He's been an addition that's helped this baseball team.
Yeah.
248-539-9797.
Monday, if they make the playoffs, Monday is going to be a very special edition of the Costa and Jansen show.
Okay. Why is that?
We might see the removal of strike two.
Yes.
We might have a special guest on the show.
Ooh.
Ticket Texter says, beware, you guys are declaring the playoffs already. 3 big games coming up. Tampa's won 4 in a row, 7 of the last 10. Let's see what happens first before we start planning the playoff rotation.
Yes, I don't disagree with that, but we are allowed to enjoy the moment. And part of enjoying the moment is the fact that they are right now controlling their own destiny.
Ticket Texter says Chris Spielman's hands are clearly all over this roster. Anyone with eyes can see it. Who deserves credit?
I do like on Twitch here. I just turned it back on, and I think Chris Villar may have given a nickname.
What did he say?
Jackson Fireballs Job.
I don't think it's going to catch on, but none of this has made sense. Sure.
If he's going to come in as a reliever, you could have I don't know the name of the
Fireball.
Song. Yeah, that could be his walk-up music.
Sure, we're workshopping this on the fly.
Why not?
Let's do it. Get back to the phones. Matt in Sterling Heights. Good morning. You're on 97.1.
Hey, what's going on, guys? So I'm sitting here. I know you guys are being cheeky with comparing Avila to Mayhew or Millen, but just a quick one. None of the players that Millen or Mayhew drafted were here when the Lions started winning. Almost the entire roster is made up of people Avila drafted that are now everyone's cheering for. So I know that you can't admit you're wrong when you chase a guy out of town when he was set up to fail from day one, but hopefully he's sitting somewhere laughing and smiling at what's going on. The other thing, too, you might want to compare him instead to Yzerman, because when Yzerman was in Tampa, he drafted a lot of players, but they never won anything when he was there. But now everyone gives Yzerman the credit for building Tampa, for building up the Lightning. It's the same thing Avila did here. Sure, he signed some crummy free agents, whatever, but the group that people are cheering for all came from that guy, and I hope he's laughing at everybody.
John is shrugging, and Tom is saying, hang up on this man. Silence him. Get him off the radio. I don't think we're comparing it, as cheeky as we were being, we're not comparing Avila to Mayhew. We were comparing him to Bob Quinn, right? Because that was the whole bit. Bob Quinn drafted the majority of this offensive line, yet people aren't giving Bob Quinn credit for this. They're giving Holmes and Campbell credit for this. The guys who took what they were given and got more out of them, right? That would be the argument for Scott Harris and some player development. It's certainly the argument for A.J. Hinch and Chris Fetter and this pitching staff. They get the credit.
I guess we don't hold a Justin Verlander trade against this guy anymore.
Right.
I mean, that return's so awesome. I love all the guys from that trade that's helping this team. I mean, that only delayed this 3 years.
Significantly. It did.
I mean, seriously,
But
the
did he
Justin Verlander
eventually
trade is
get it right?
truly probably the worst trade in Detroit sports history when you think about it.
I don't disagree.
But, let's give that guy credit.
And the worst free agent signing in the history of Detroit sports. I would argue that
Well, you gotta be more
100% that's
specific.
Javy Baez.
The worst trade
or
and the
Jordan
worst free
Zimmerman.
agent
They were-
signing. But good way to go, Al.
Yeah. Woo! I was going to say, it's Javi and it was Jordan Zimmerman. People forget about that deal. That was terrible. Both of them were Al Avila signings. When he was given the chance to spend, he whiffed pretty epically both times. We got calls to get to, credit to hand out. Tigers in the final week of the regular season control their own destiny. Jackson Jobe is here. We want to get your thoughts on it.